Have you ever driven by an old mansion and wondered what secrets lie inside? Well, tonight we take you inside where the new owner is finding treasures behind the walls and under the floors.
When a couple decided to buy a 160-year-old mansion, they thought it would be an easy project. What they didn't know was that the old walls and dusty rooms had secrets that would change their lives. From broken floors to quiet dangers in the building, every room brought a new problem, testing their patience and courage. Friends told them it was a bad idea, but they went ahead. Yet the biggest shock was waiting inside. Something so strange and shocking, it made them wonder, were they ready for what they would find? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. The shocking discovery inside a 160-year-old mansion. A couple bought a 160-year-old mansion to rebuild it. The discovery inside the hidden room was something that left the homeowners and everyone who later heard the story feeling uneasy for a long time. It began with a simple renovation project. They thought they were just fixing old floors, repainting cracked walls, and making the place feel alive again. But what they found behind one thick wall upstairs was something far from ordinary. It was a room that had been sealed away for many years, so carefully hidden that no one even suspected it was there, until the measurements of the hallway did not match what the blueprint showed. When the wall was opened, the air that came out was cold and stale, as if it had been trapped in the darkness for decades. Inside the hidden space, the light fell on shelves lined with old bottles, most of them covered in thick dust. More than 60 bottles were found, and many seemed to be from a period long gone. Some were filled with old bootleg liquor, likely from times when alcohol was not allowed and people hid their drinks in fear of getting caught. The liquid inside many bottles had turned dark and heavy, and the glass looked worn, but still strong. Some bottles were stranger than others. A few held a thick black substance that no one could easily explain. They looked different from the ordinary liquor containers. Each of those strange bottles had pieces of paper tied around their necks. Some papers looked like prayers or warnings, written by hand in faded ink. One bottle even had a message that read, "Do not open." Seeing that message made the homeowners pause. It made them wonder what the person who wrote it had been afraid of. On the floor of the hidden room, they found scattered pieces of old rope, dried and brittle. The rope was shaped in a way that made people think it had once been used to tie something or someone. There was also a pile of old straw in one corner, almost like a small resting spot, even though it did not look comfortable or safe. Mixed in with the straw were tiny strands of hair, thinned and dry with age. All of these small pieces made the whole room feel colder and heavier. Then there were the scratch marks. Deep, uneven marks that dug into the wooden door that had been sealed shut from the other side. The marks looked like they had been made in desperation, as if someone had used their nails, or maybe a sharp object, to claw their way out. They ran in long lines across the wood, and some were so deep that splinters still hung loose. Anyone who looked at those marks felt the same uncomfortable thought. Someone might have been trapped inside this room long ago. A small notebook was found lying near the shelves. The pages were aged and fragile. Inside, names had been written and then crossed out, one by one. On another page, a phrase repeated several times: "No one escapes." The handwriting was quick and uneven, almost frantic. No one knew who wrote it or why, but it added another layer of mystery to the room. The homeowners felt a strange presence the moment they stepped inside. At one point, the wife said she saw what looked like a thin, withered hand resting near the straw pile, but when she blinked, it was gone. Whether it was a trick of the light or something else, she could never say for sure. Even her husband admitted that the air inside the room felt wrong, too heavy, too still, as if it didn't belong to the rest of the house. After the discovery, they called in experts and authorities, and soon the whole story spread. People blamed everything from old crime activity to secret rituals. Some said the bottles pointed to illegal liquor trading. Others believed the room had been used to hold someone captive. And some even whispered that the place might have been used for darker, stranger things. But no one could prove anything with certainty. What everyone did agree on was that the room had been sealed for a long time, hidden with care, and forgotten by most people who lived after. And opening it brought out not just old items, but old questions that still have no clear answers. The room was closed up again for safety, but the memories of what was found inside stayed with the homeowners long after the wall was sealed. After seeing all those strange things hidden in that sealed room, one question became impossible to ignore. What kind of long and quiet history could a house have lived through to hide something like this for so many years? Let's find out. The long, slow history of the house and how it hid its secrets. Knowing the history of the house, which existed for a long time before the sealed room was found, added to the mystery of the secret area. It wasn't just any old building. It was a spot that had stood many years, and every year seemed to bring with it another layer of wonder. Houses are believed to remember things even after people forget them. And this mansion gave that feeling in every way. The house was built in 1852 in the Greek Revival style, including wide hallways, windows, and tall white columns. The original owners wanted the mansion to be a symbol of their image and pride. The house hosted warm dinners, family get-togethers, and tourists who loved the rare architecture for a while. However, the original family slowly moved on as life changed over time. Each owner left behind parts of their own life as they came and left. But none of them stayed long enough to keep the property really alive. The house's function changed in the early 1900s. It briefly worked as a tiny private school in the 1920s. In the past, kids would stroll through its hallways while holding notebooks and laughing with their pals. However, funding was tight, and the school never grew. The building was silent once more once it closed in a few years. The house went back to its long silence as the sound of children vanished. When the house stood empty, it began to decay. Paint peeled from the walls, floors cracked under their own weight, and rain found its way through the weakened roof. Some neighbors said the house felt colder than others nearby, even in warm months. The windows seemed to watch the road, and many people avoided walking close to it at night. Time was slowly taking the house apart, and with each year, it looked less like a home and more like a forgotten shell. By the 60s and 70s, the damage became serious. Animals found their way inside. Birds built nests in the attic. Stray cats slipped between broken boards. The once grand house looked tired and worn. But even with all the damage, something about it felt guarded, as if the building was hiding something deep inside, something that had been kept secret for many years. When new owners finally bought the house many decades later, they saw potential, not danger. They wanted to bring the house back to life. But the renovation brought unexpected challenges. The walls were uneven, the wiring was outdated, and some rooms seemed colder than others for no clear reason. Strange drafts moved through closed spaces. A few walls felt thicker than they should have been, and one hallway upstairs was slightly shorter than the blueprint showed. These small details might not have mattered in another house, but in this one, they created a quiet feeling that something wasn't right. Workers heard echoes where there should have been no empty space. The homeowners noticed cold spots and unusual sounds coming from places that were supposed to be solid. No one knew why the measurements did not match. But at the time, they simply shrugged it off. It wasn't until the renovation reached that thick wall at the end of the upstairs hallway that everything finally came together. When the wall broke open and the sealed room appeared, all the strange signs suddenly made sense. For more than 170 years, the house had stored memories, secrets, and silent stories behind its walls. And that hidden space, untouched and closed off from the world, was a part of that long, slow history. The house had lived through families, storms, empty seasons, and shifts in ownership. It had watched people come and go. And through all of that, the secret room stayed closed, waiting in the dark. When it was finally uncovered, it showed a side of the house no one had ever imagined. A side full of old objects, old marks, and old questions that stretched back into the forgotten years of the home's past. What kinds of secrets could a historic old home be hiding beneath its floors and behind its walls, waiting patiently for someone to uncover them? Stay tuned for more discoveries inside a 140 years old house. When Thad and Robin Kraneski bought their new home in Leavenworth, Kansas, they thought they were only going to be doing a regular old renovation. They thought they would fix up the house, paint some walls, replace old carpets, and maybe modernize a few things. They did not expect to find anything too unusual. They did not expect to uncover secrets that had been hiding for decades, even more than 100 years. But almost immediately, it became clear that this was no ordinary house. As they started stripping away carpets and removing old boards, they noticed small, shiny things hidden in corners. They pulled back old floorboards near the fireplace and found 2 glass jars filled with silver coins.
I pulled the carpet up, pulled the board up, back in the corner right up here against the fireplace. I saw, a little shiny thing in the back. I stuck my hand back in there and pulled it out, and there were 2 jars of silver coins.
These coins were not ordinary coins. They were dimes, quarters, and half dollars, mostly from the years 1890 to 1916. Some of them were worn, some of them were shiny, but all of them were precious. They were carefully hidden, tucked away where only someone very determined would ever find them. Thad later said it felt like he had stepped back in time. He felt like a child discovering treasure in an old attic. The coins were only the beginning. While working on a tall, built-in bookshelf, they found a Civil War-era presentation cane.
His first find came while dusting the top of a 12-foot-high bookshelf, a Civil War presentation cane and pocket watch. He found the owner's heir and passed it on.
It was carved carefully, polished, and engraved with small details that made it clear it belonged to someone important. Along with the cane, there was a pocket watch, also engraved and well-preserved. These items were not thrown away or left by accident. They had been carefully stored, placed in a way that suggested someone wanted them to be found one day. Not long after, a hidden recess behind a transom window revealed a small stack of very old books.
Then someone noticed the transoms. One of them was non-functional. Curious, he took down the painting, pulled out the nails, and dug inside to find a nook with books, all dated 1907.
These books were from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Among them were Ben-Hur, The Scarlet Letter, and Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. They were in surprisingly good condition. The paper was mostly intact. The pages were not warped. Someone had hidden them carefully, perhaps hoping that one day someone like the Kraneskis would find them. The books were not highly valuable in the marketplace, but they had cultural and historical significance. They suggested that the previous owners valued education, morality, and spirituality. As the couple continued to explore, they made an even more remarkable discovery: a sealed room under the basement. The room had been built with care and then completely filled with dirt. It was narrow and dim, enclosed by brickwork that seemed hurried but deliberate. Inside, there were no treasures, no furniture, no papers, nothing at all, just the earth itself. Experts have suggested many possible explanations for this room. Some think it might have been a storm shelter designed to protect people during tornadoes. Others think it could have been a Prohibition-era hideaway, used to store alcohol secretly. Another theory is that it was a private vault or panic room, built to keep valuables safe during difficult times. Why the room was filled with dirt is still a mystery. Perhaps it was meant to stabilize the house, or perhaps it was deliberately sealed to hide something forever. The house continued to reveal secrets slowly, almost as if it had been waiting for the right owners to uncover them. Every board lifted, every carpet pulled back, every wall inspected seemed to tell a story from the past. The Kraneskis discovered that their home was not just a place to live. It was a vessel of history, a container of hidden memories and objects that spoke to the lives of those who had lived there over more than a century. However, what history lies within the walls of this mansion, and how did it come to hold such hidden treasures and forgotten relics? Keep watching to find out. History of the 140-year-old house and context. The Leavenworth home on Broadway Street is more than just a building made of wood and bricks. Built more than 140 years ago, it is a classic Victorian home. Founded in 1854, before Kansas became a state, Leavenworth was a busy town when it was built. Due to its location on the Missouri River and the building of Fort Leavenworth in 1827, the town grew rapidly. It was a serious military and trade hub by the late 1800s. Commerce was brought about by railroads and steamboats, and rich people built amazing houses to show their social standing. The Broadway Street mansion was likely one of these homes. The house was originally owned by a Civil War veteran who moved to Leavenworth after the war. He settled there to take advantage of business opportunities and the growing community. At that time, the house would have represented success, status, and craftsmanship. Homes built during this era were not just places to live. They were symbols of wealth, social standing, and sometimes secrecy. Thick walls, hidden staircases, and complicated basements were common. The Kraneskis' house contained all of these features. Over the years, the house passed through several owners. Each owner added, removed, or modified parts of the structure. Some objects were hidden deliberately. Coins were stashed away during periods of economic uncertainty, such as the Panic of 1893, World War I, and the Great Depression. Books were hidden perhaps during times of social unrest or personal concern. The original owner's pride and feeling were seen in the careful storage of the pocket watch and cane. Leavenworth provides more background. Grain magnates, railroad tycoons, and Civil War veterans lived in the town. The way people used homes was impacted by the social and economic context. Home design always included secret caches, hidden storage, and private areas. The mansion's carefully hidden nooks, attic stashes, and hidden room are all in line with the customs of wealthy homeowners in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Also, the mansion is a sign of American history as a whole. The items inside show cultural changes, fears, and national events. Silver coins are a sign of worries about economic security and banking stability. The importance of moral, spiritual, and cultural qualities in hard times is suggested by hidden books. The land has a direct link to Leavenworth's beginning and the history of American veterans thanks to the Civil War artifacts. The current homeowners, Thad and Robin Kraneski, have approached the property with care, respect, and curiosity.
Since I do not plan on ever moving, ever again, I will stop probably sometime around the time I die.
They have not only restored the mansion, but have documented its findings and engaged the community. The house is no longer just a home. It is a living archive, a place where the past and present meet, where historical objects continue to tell stories more than a century after they were first hidden. Have you ever imagined what might happen if a simple mistake led you to uncover a hidden legacy within an old, forgotten home? Let's delve deeper. The discovery of a hidden legacy. Claire and Cal Hunter, a young couple from Scotland, made a risky choice in 2021 that would change their lives. They had been together for a number of years, with Cal looking for new ways to change their little income, and Claire taking a year off from her medical studies. They were looking for ways to grow their financial status, just like many middle-class couples. After careful consideration, they came to the decision that real estate investing might be a good course of action. Their plan was straightforward: buy an old house, make changes, and then sell it for more money. Their work started at an auction when Cal bid 30,000 euros, or roughly $37,000, on a property he thought would work well for their project. But what was supposed to be a simple transaction soon became an amazing turn of events. Cal mistakenly bought a 120-year-old mansion in Dunoon, Scotland, after placing the wrong bid. The mansion was a big, historic building that was built in 1900 but was in serious ruin. Upon seeing the mansion in person, Claire and Cal were struck by its character and the aura of history that clung to every corner. Despite the damage, they were captivated. The house had begun to sink into the ground. The roof was partially missing, walls were cracked, and timbers were rotting. The local council had even categorized it as dangerous due to its state of partial collapse. Nonetheless, the couple felt compelled to restore the mansion rather than demolish it. Claire later reflected that the mansion's location on the edge of a scenic Scottish loch, combined with its striking architecture, made it impossible to ignore. The project immediately presented practical challenges. With their limited funds, the couple could not afford to hire professionals or contractors. To stay close to the site, they rented a caravan and placed it in the mansion's backyard. This caravan lacked basic amenities such as running water and electricity, forcing the couple to adapt to a minimalist and self-sufficient lifestyle. Yet, even under these circumstances, Claire and Cal embraced the situation with enthusiasm, treating the renovation as an adventure that would test both their skills and perseverance. The interior of the mansion revealed numerous hidden obstacles. Rotten floorboards, a collapsing roof, and unsafe scaffolding were only the beginning. The couple discovered that structural repairs were necessary before they could even think about installing a new roof. Each day brought new challenges, from digging trenches for water pipes to tracing elusive electrical cables. Every discovery highlighted the complexity of working with a historic building that had been neglected for decades. Despite the difficulties, the couple remained motivated. They used their social media platforms to document the renovation process, sharing photos, updates, and insights with friends, family, and followers. In addition to boosting their spirits, this online interaction gave them access to a larger community that offered guidance, resources, and emotional support. While some followers hinted where to get reused building supplies, others offered advice on eco-friendly products. The pair handled every day's work with careful planning, setting simple targets to ensure progress in the face of hard tasks, and their resolve never changed. Once the couple stepped inside and began the restoration, they quickly realized that uncovering the mansion's secrets was only the beginning. What would they discover next about the house's hidden history and challenges? Let's take a closer look. Renovation challenges and life lessons. The restoration of the mansion required more than just physical labor. It demanded creativity, resourcefulness, and resilience. One of the earliest major challenges involved the mansion's roof and walls.
I also love that they're cambered. Basically what that means is that these slates are going to sit nice and tight against each other and keep them from having the wind lift them.
While the roof itself needed complete replacement, structural engineers warned that the walls might not support a new roof without reinforcement. This presented the couple with a complex dilemma. The roof could not be replaced without first stabilizing the walls. Yet the damaged roof continued to allow rainwater to threaten the interior. The couple also had to contend with the mansion's accumulated debris. Years of neglect had left the property filled with broken furniture, old materials, and other discarded items. Claire and Cal manually cleared the space, transporting refuse to dumpsters while organizing the house to prepare for renovations. They even addressed wildlife challenges, such as a colony of crows that had taken up residence in the dilapidated mansion. Using inventive solutions, including makeshift scarecrows, they successfully encouraged the birds to relocate without harming them. Living in the caravan posed additional difficulties. The couple had no modern conveniences, forcing them to adapt in ways that reinforced fundamental life skills. For example, Claire washed clothing by hand in a nearby stream and improvised a simple kitchen in the caravan using basic materials. Their living arrangements were also affected by noise and safety concerns, as the caravan was initially placed on a roadside. To mitigate risks, they relocated it to a more secure spot within the mansion's grounds. In addition to environmental and logistical challenges, Claire and Cal faced financial constraints. Renovation costs were higher than anticipated, necessitating creative problem-solving and prioritization. They received help from friends who joined them on-site, providing labor, advice, and temporary accommodations in the backyard using tents equipped with basic comforts. This collaboration allowed the couple to continue their work despite limited resources and provided a sense of shared purpose in completing the demanding project. The couple's renovation philosophy extended beyond basic repairs. They aimed to make the mansion eco-friendly and sustainable, using recycled building materials wherever possible. Each task, whether it involved repairing the bay window, reinforcing floorboards, or stabilizing the roof, became a lesson in patience, precision, and resourcefulness. Claire and Cal found fulfillment not only in progress, but in the problem-solving process itself, discovering resilience they had never fully appreciated before. Their methodical approach and commitment to small daily goals helped them steadily move toward completion. Though the renovation was far from finished, the couple had already transformed a nearly collapsing mansion into a livable, functioning home. Along the way, they embraced lessons in teamwork, persistence, and adaptability, fully appreciating the rewards of restoring a historic property through their own efforts. Ultimately, what began as a mistaken bid on the wrong property evolved into an ambitious restoration project that tested the couple's endurance and creativity. Could the mystery of abandoned old mansions stretch beyond Scotland, all the way to the sun-scorched deserts of Arizona? Let's find out. Abandoned luxury and sudden departure. In the Arizona desert, there is a massive mansion. It is a very expensive mansion, worth around $6.7 million. The house is huge. It has a 4-car garage and a sprawling walkway. There are statues, a large backyard, a tennis court, a basketball hoop, and a swimming pool with a water slide. The backyard even has a hot tub. There is also a private movie theater inside. The mansion was once owned by the Potts family. They were a well-known family in Arizona, famous in the off-road racing community. They made their money from real estate and other businesses, including ATM machines. From 2010 until 2021, the Potts family lived in this mansion. They often hosted parties, gatherings, and celebrations at the home. In 2021, the house was put up for sale, and a new family moved in. After that, there was little information about the new residents. When explorers entered the mansion, the scene was shocking. Many personal items had been left behind. Passports, social security cards, and credit cards were all still inside. Clothes were scattered around, along with family photos and children's toys. Suitcases were packed but had not been taken. Electronics, including phones and laptops, were left on desks and tables. Even cars, such as a relatively new Prius, were left in the garage with flat tires. Food was still in the refrigerators, some of it spoiled and rotten. Everything suggested that the family had left quickly and unexpectedly, without taking most of their belongings. Inside, some areas indicated that others may have entered after the family left. Some rooms looked like squatters had been living there for a while. Small items, such as drinks and personal belongings, were used and left behind. Other areas were untouched but very dirty. Cobwebs hung in corners, rotting food was scattered around, and insects were everywhere. The house had clearly been abandoned for some time, though the exact duration was unclear. Some items raised serious concerns. A gun was left on a desk next to handwritten notes. One of the notes seemed to hint that the family might die. Another letter from law enforcement instructed the family to turn themselves in. Bloodstains were found on some furniture. These findings added to the mystery and suggested that something serious had happened, though the exact nature was unknown. Despite the abandonment and damage, some features of the house still worked. Some alarms and electrical systems were functional. The movie theater appeared usable, and some entertainment areas were intact. Outside, parts of the backyard were maintained, including fake grass, a trampoline, and pool furniture. Other areas showed signs of decay, such as dead plants and cracks in the pool and water slide. The mansion displayed both luxury and deterioration at the same time. The interior contained many personal belongings. Bedrooms still had children's toys, clothes, and packed suitcases. Some rooms were dirty, with trash and spoiled food left on the floors. Cobwebs were everywhere, and the smell of decay was strong in several areas. The kitchen had 2 large islands, and the house had multiple living rooms, dining areas, and a wine room. It was clear the mansion had been very expensive and lavish. Security cameras and alarm systems were still in place, showing that the family had once invested in keeping the home safe. Some rooms showed signs of recent activity. Used drinks and personal items suggested that others may have entered the home after it was abandoned. Some areas, however, were untouched. Rotting food, dirty dishes, and general decay made it clear that the house had been left for a long time. Family photos, children's toys, and personal belongings scattered throughout the mansion indicated a sudden departure. The sheer scale of the mansion, combined with the mystery of the abandoned items and the possible presence of squatters, created a strange and unnerving scene. This mansion, in the middle of the desert, is a combination of wealth, luxury, and mystery. It is abandoned, but filled with signs of life, both past and recent. Personal items, children's belongings, and signs of hasty departure make the story of this mansion compelling and disturbing. Observers can only speculate about why the family left so abruptly and what happened to them. The combination of abandoned luxury, personal effects, and possible criminal connections makes this mansion one of the most curious and unsettling properties in the region. What do you think about the mystery found inside old mansions? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.